It's 17 minutes past 8. Good morning. Thousands of people have signed a petition calling for tougher rules on the use of electronic scooters because of concerns for the safety of people using them.
The campaign's been organised by Carly Callan, whose 14-year-old son Jacob died after the e-scooter he was riding on collided with a car. The BBC's Roger Johnson has been speaking to her.
Jacob was a very loving boy, very cheeky chapper, very headstrong. He knew what he wanted in life and he was always going to go for it.
And yet his life changed literally in an instant.
Split second decision. From the 18 minutes of him leaving this front door, his life was gone. It's something I've never seen before. Like, you see it on TV, but that's your life that changing in that split instance. It was surreal.
And the force with which the speed he was going on the scooter, on the back of the scooter, and the impact of the car actually knocked his training shoes off.
It did. The impact of the car knocked him onto the other side of the road, with him also losing his shoes on the way. It's like it's not real, but is in the same, if that makes any sense. Do you know what I mean? Like, your life just changes like that, and it's surreal.
And as a mum of a 14-year-old boy, you had talked about e-scooters.
Yeah.
And you told him...
No. No, I've always told him no to anything, to the e-bikes, to the electric scooters, down to anything like that, because he didn't have road sense on his feet, never mind on something as powerful as these things.
And that week after he'd had the accident, you chronicled your journey in the hospital in the form of text messages.
I did.
It must be really hard to now look back on those.
I haven't looked back. I struggle to look back because, like I say, that was my journey within that moment, and I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to look back on that. Have I watched the video? Of course I've watched it. I helped make it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying that they're not there, but I did that hoping that he would come out of the other side and read those messages and understand his own journey, and he didn't get a chance to.
So what do you now hope to achieve by the petition that you've launched and the campaign that you're running in Jacob's name?
So from the petition, we want to try and get e-scooter licences put in place to stop the sales of under 18s, for them getting their hands on these kind of motorised vehicles. We want to prohibit passengers being carried on the back of e-scooters, and we also want safety equipment put in place to make these, when they have got their licence and they are safer. When we get in a car, we have to wear a seatbelt. Why, when they get on these scooters, do they just get to go on them with no helmets, no safety equipment whatsoever?
But you're not calling for a complete ban?
No.
People might be surprised by that.
Because if we was to ban everything in the world, we'd have nothing. It's not about, I don't want to come in with this, oh, let's ban this and that and the other. I want to learn. I want people to learn about these things, and we have to go on a driving test to drive a car. Why can't we go on a driving scheme that we can learn how to ride these scooters? It's not about banning it, it's about let's learn, let's make it safer, and let's enjoy these things that we can have, but in a safer way.
All this happened less than 3 months ago.
Yes, March the 27th.
Have you even had time? Because it seems you don't just get a website, a campaign, a petition, everything launched. You haven't had time to think.
No, I don't want time to think yet. I want to make other people aware. I want to make other people safer. I've got the rest of my life to go now without Jacob by my side. If I can save one life before my grieving process starts, then it's all going to be worth it. You think it's not going to be you. I thought the same. I never thought that my son was going to die on an e-scooter. I hope no other parent, brother, sister, auntie, uncle has to go through this, because it isn't an easy journey. It isn't an easy fix. I just hope that our message and our campaign and what I'm doing and putting my pain into his power is going to save somebody else from doing this.
Roger Johnson, BBC News.
Well, let's talk now to Luca Straker, who's from the road safety charity Break. Good morning. Nice to see you. Let's start with the legislation? What are the rules? Because it's so confusing. You go in a city centre, you can hire some scooters, some people own them privately. Do they go on the road? Should they be in a bike lane? Are they allowed on the pavement? What are the rules right now?
So the actual law states that privately owned e-scooters are not allowed to be on public roads. So they're only allowed to be used in private land with the permission of the owner. But there are some pilot schemes in certain cities around the UK where you can hire e-scooters, like in Manchester, like in London, like in Liverpool, and quite a few other places as well. And those are allowed to be used on the road and on cycle lanes.
That's an important distinction as well, because a lot of people will say, I see them on pavements. That is not allowed.
No, that's also not allowed. They're supposed to be kind of segregated away from pedestrians and used in the same kind of vein as a bike would be. So it's either on the road, or if there's a cycle lane available, then they can use them on those.
How fast can they go, and what's the legal limit for them?
Well, there's been some consultations happen last year around it, and I think you can get up to about 15 miles an hour on them. But ideally, you want to be using them within, depending on the situation you're in. So if you're around a lot of people, you need to be using them at a slower pace, because you need to be able to make sure that you can stop if you need to stop, and make sure that everybody has a comfortable experience moving around.
So, are the laws at the moment sufficient? It sounds like a really silly question, but let me rephrase. In what way are they insufficient, the laws?
Well, there's two things. One, I don't think people actually realise that they're illegal, for one. And two, the more regulation that we can have, so, allowing people to understand how they can use them and where they can use them, making sure that they've got the right safety elements to it as well. I think having some proper legislation around them would really, really help people understand how to use them, because it's not that we don't want to get rid of them. They're a good alternative to, for a short distance, getting people out of their cars and moving around. We want people to use them properly, regulated way, and also safely.
Yeah, and I suppose, in its purest sense, that is what those trials in some city centres are trying to do, to work out how we can make transport a bit easier, a bit greener, and improve people's ability to get around. It's the confusion that causes so many problems. I mean, what is the one bit that you would like to see change that would make all of this clearer for people and ultimately safer? I mean, should there be mandatory helmets, for example?
Well, I think one of the main things is an understanding whether they're being purchased.
Right.
I think there's a responsibility there for when people are purchasing them to know where you can and can't use them, because I think a lot of people think you can just buy them and just use them wherever you want.
And is that a manufacturer issue or a retailer? Because if they're saying you can only use it on private land, as the law would state, they're not going to sell many, are they?
Well, exactly. So there's some disconnect there between legislation and sales, and that's something that would need to be addressed.
Ben mentioned helmets, and of course, when Carly was talking about her son, Jacob, she described it in that film to Roger, didn't she? That the force was such when he came off that his shoes came off, and he had a catastrophic head injury. Helmets, in terms of legality, how easy is it to enforce that, or even for that to be one of the pushes?
I mean, it's the same with any similar kind of vehicle, so with bikes and with e-scooters, the more protection you can have, the better, because, hearing Carly's story, it's heartbreaking. And our charity, we work with over 2,000 families who have been bereaved or seriously injured as resulting from a crash similar to this. And we see the devastation. We see how it impacts on communities and families and workplaces and schools all the time. And something as simple as just putting your helmet on can really make a massive difference.
The Department for Transport has said road safety is a top priority. Every death on our roads is a tragedy, and our thoughts are with everyone who's lost a loved one in this way. E-scooters are only legal to use on the roads as part of government-run trials, which recommend helmets, and include minimum age, licensing, insurance and training requirements. Insurance? You're supposed to take out insurance if you have an e-scooter.
It's recommended.
And technically, would they say that's part of when you hire it, you get the insurance as part of the deal to hire it for a period of time?
Yeah, because in those pilot schemes, you have that contract with the hirer.
Do you get a sense from government that, this is a priority for them in terms of how they legislate? Because it's all well and good having these private trials. Ultimately, one assumes there is a decision made at the end of these trials that will decide yes or no. Do they stay or do they go? And if they stay, with what safeguards in place?
Well, the Department for Transport have been stating that we are due a road safety strategy. They've been promising it for a year now, nearly. And, you know, when that comes out, we would hope that something like the legislation around e-scooters would be prominent within there.
In the areas where the trial's going on, I mean, are there more safety, have the safety concerns or the safety issues, are they being managed? And the reason I ask this is, say you've had a private one and anywhere else in the country, that is the risk of an accident or danger higher where the trials aren't taking place?
I don't think we have the data for that yet, because the casualty statistics that come out, they often, you know, at the moment we're still working from 2023 data. So the next data will come out in September, you know, and it could be in there that you see a rise, for example, of e-scooter, but it's all down to what data is being collected at the site of a crash.
Luca, thank you very much for joining us. Luca Straker, who's campaigns manager at Break. This is something we will continue to talk about, obviously. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you this morning. Thanks.